First chance we've gotten to talk to you since Mark said that you're going to call plays. What does that mean to you to be able to get that responsibility?
I'm excited about the responsibility. Obviously, it's a big responsibility. We had a guy calling plays last year that was really good at it. The good thing, and I've said this before, is Mark had way more to do with the offense and the installation and the play calling than people realize. And having him right there on the headset with me, I'm sure it'll be collaborative, and I'll get all of his expertise and knowledge to help me along the way.
You'll be up in the booth for it too, right?
Yeah, being up the booth is good. It helps you get the emotion out of the thought process. It also gives you a better vantage point to see everything, so you can kind of decipher what the defense is trying to do and figure out the best way to exploit it.
Is this the first time you've been up in the booth as a coach?
I was in the booth both my other two places I coached, as a graduate assistant at Kansas State and then a linebacker coach and D coordinator at Northern Iowa.
What do you see? I mean, obviously vantage point's different. It was interesting to hear the emotion standpoint. That's something I hadn't thought about. How big of a difference is it being on the sideline versus up in the booth from the emotion standpoint?
Quite a bit. On the sideline, you're coaching emotion. You're trying to get it out of them when it's not there. You're trying to dial it back when they're running hot. And you have to pay a lot of attention to the pulse of the team on the sideline. I think up in the box, it's a lot easier to separate yourself from that and make strategic, educated decisions.
It sounds like you guys are still going to use the play cards with all the faces and everything. Is that the way that you guys are going to call in the plays and do the offense?
Yeah, since we signal everything, we have to have more than one way to signal things in, so the play cards will still be out there.
What's the first few days of practice been like calling in plays and having that new responsibility? I know in the spring you had it was a whole different thing for you, but now you're calling the plays too. How's that been so far?
Practice is good for the players. It's good for the coaches too. As a coordinator, when you script everything and you're writing up what plays you're going to run during practice, you have an idea what to look for. And then when you're calling plays at practice, you get used to the verbiage, get used to getting on the field what you need to get out there. And so it's good for the coaches and the players to get practice days like this.
Mark and Gary have both said about Thomas and running backs in general, you really can't tell too much without the pads on, without full contact. Obviously, they're not getting hit. But what do you think so far of what you've seen of Thomas?
I've been impressed with all the running backs so far. They've done a really good job and probably been the best unit on our team so far. Can't tell much without pads. Thomas is fast, but I'm not giving you a breaking news story there.
Coach, with D'Anthony, how intriguing is that, having those skills as an offensive coordinator?
Well, there's not too many players like D'Anthony in the country, and there's not too many players that have had his skill set in the history of college football. He needs to keep getting better and keep working, and I expect even better things out of him this year, but it's a luxury to have a guy like that.
Last year, I think he averaged 10 touches a game. Is it hard to get him more touches?
No, I think part of it last year was the fact we had Kenyon Varner and a bunch of guys at receiver that could play and a bunch of guys at tight end that could play. He's going to have to be a little more of a focal point this year. We'll get him as many touches as we can without putting him in situations where we risk his long-term health.
A lot of people ask about if he can be the guy who can get 20, 30 carries. But do you want a guy like him getting those kind of carries? Isn't his strength really out in space?
I think, honestly, I think we have enough other guys that are dangerous with the ball in their hands that we don't need to give D'Anthony the ball 30 times. We got Josh Huff coming back and Colt Lyola and, a bunch of guys at receiver and Byron Marshall and Marcus Mariota. And I think we'd be a little too one-dimensional if we get anybody 30 touches.
Colt just said that he dropped about 15 pounds in the offseason. Speed was one of the things he focused on. How much do you see a difference in him in the spring?
He's a little smaller. He's still big enough I wouldn't want to fight him. I think he stopped eating over the summer, but he looks really good. We're excited about Cole.
For the last 4 years, this program has had a featured back. So are you saying that it's likely that you guys go to a committee?
We've had a feature back and we haven't. Even since I've been here, 1 year we had the luxury of having LaMichael and Kenyon, and another year we had LaMichael and LeGarrette. Then we had LaMichael, Kenyon, and D'Anthony. Josh Huff his freshman year played a lot. We had Jeremiah and Stewart, and they had Jeremiah and LeGarrette. I just think we're a better team when we have more than one guy that can be dangerous with the ball.
Seems like the guy who gets overlooked a lot because of Thomas coming in and all the expectations is Byron. How much different does Byron look compared to last year?
Byron looks great. I told him at the beginning of walkthrough this morning that he was the MVP of the practice yesterday. He looked really good yesterday. impressed with Byron's maturity, his grasp of the offense, and how well he's been running.
Almost a sleeper figure then, in a sense. I mean, we saw what he could do last year, but I think a lot of people in general just kind of overlook him.
I think he had some games last year when he got a chance, and he really showed some flashes of what he can do, and I expect to see more of it this year.
What made him stand out to make you say that yesterday?
Like I said, I think Byron has a really good grasp of what we're trying to do on offense. He has a good feel for our schemes, and he ran the ball really well yesterday. So if he stays on that trend, I think we got a really good running back on our hands.
Thanks, Scott.
Thanks.